ZDBs proudly presents the Faith, Fashion, and the Hustle podcast, hosted by the founder of ZDBs, Sonia Bryant.
You mentioned something that I think it's important to remember. Many times we get so focused on, and this is just a side note for those that are entrepreneurial out there, she was obviously focused on the accounting of it and the products of it and all that, but you mentioned something in there that you began to ask God for direction.
Yes.
And that God began to open that door. And I think that's such an important note, in that regardless of our individual ventures or business ventures, that you took time to say, okay, God, what's next? It's not just does this make sense? Am I making sure the ones and the zeros are all there together? But you stopped and you said, which I think part of that is the fact that you are a pastor's wife, and that's an important part of, kind of what your life has been about. But you carry that over into this part of the process.
Well, but I think if you're a Christian and you live for the Lord, I feel like anything you do, any endeavor, anything in your life should be considered. You need to talk to the Lord about it, because I feel like there have been decisions that I've made over the years that I feel like there was a couple of times that I made wrong steps, okay? And I could go into that, but I won't. But some things that I made poor decisions, but I think back, did I really pray that thing through before? And I feel like it's important that, not even for a pastor's wife, anybody that's in business, if you are living for the Lord and this is your life, you should incorporate decisions that you make, whether it's for your family or for your business. The Lord has got to be in the center of it. And I'm a testament to the Lord opening doors at one right after another, and not because I'm great or anything, just because I've added the Lord into the equation on every decision I make. He is part of that decision. If I have to talk to Him before I make a step. And so I don't take these things lightly. So I feel like you've got to let the Lord walk through these things with you. And I feel like, and people say, well, how you've been successful. I think that's probably right there is one of the biggest reasons why the Lord has allowed me to be successful in whatever area you want to point at. And it's because I've included Him on all those decisions.
Well, we won't get into the fact that you are very much a giver, but that's a side discussion that we'll get into later.
Oh man, we could have a whole podcast on giving, and I'm very passionate about giving, and that also plays a huge role, ginormous role.
So, but we won't get to preaching here today.
I can feel it right now.
Though we could,
yeah,
because that was definitely I know a lot of those stories personally,
yes.
But again, we won't get into those right now. But so we talked about that, but we get back to 600 square feet versus where you had been, which was 6,000. That's 10% of the space, and you're also paying more in rent per month. So this is definitely a leap of faith.
Yeah, it was huge. And this is the crazy story is you boys were all in college or doing things, and so I didn't really have a lot of help from you at that time. So this is how this rolled. So for several months, we were running this store out of the mall, and I would go mall closed at 9:00, and in holiday time it closed at 10 or 11. So many nights I was there till closing, and then I would drive back to Canton, which was about a 35-minute drive, and I would fill my Suburban up with more home decor because we were mowing through it so fast. I was like, I was just shocked. We did in 1 month more than we did probably in 6 months. And so location.
That's a definite lesson that we learned.
Yes. And so I nightly would drive back to Canton, fill my truck up, and come back the next morning and fill it back up, So it was a lot of work, but I'm not allergic to work. And so I think that's what's kept me going, is because I've learned to work at a young age from a really hardworking mama.
Well, we kind of got that lesson too. We got it whether we liked it or not.
That's
because
right.
It wasn't just I'm going to work as your mother, but hey, I'm working, so you boys are working. We learned the royal we. Hey,
Yeah.
we're going to do this.
Now
Daddy
that
taught
was
a lot
from
of
your
that to
dad.
us.
That was from
Hey,
your
boys,
dad.
we're going to mow
I
the
would
grass.
just say, Gregory, Joshua, Dallas, come on, let's go. Come on, you guys, let's do
Well,
this.
she would usually reward us with food, and the classic story is that we would
Oh,
go
Lord.
because we were.
Here we
You've got to
go.
hear this story. This is classic in our house, but because we weren't,
Well,
multimillionaires,
no,
we
we were very
we were on the
poor.
struggle bus. That's the school bus we rode to school, was the struggle bus. And mom would take us to eat something, but we would go somewhere like Taco
we just
Bell.
didn't eat out very much because we just didn't have the money.
Oh, yeah.
So we picked the strategic spots, the Taco Bell dollar menu.
Yeah, it's like, boys, you can have now. Of course, she's got 3 ravenously hungry boys. All right, everybody gets 2 items, not 3, 2.
That's right.
And then we would share a drink.
No. You didn't even get a pop. You got
Water, yeah.
water.
Well, that's where I still drink water this day, and it's actually
too.
comes from that time when we were so poor and broke. Feel sorry for us. Feel very sorry for us. Yeah, but
yeah.
she would remind us before we got to the restaurant.
Well, then
hey,
when
we're
I started
drinking
traveling
water
so
tonight."
much, their daddy, I'm not sure, their daddy started taking them to Taco Bell, and they could get as many dollar items as they want, and they could get a drink.
Oh man, we were living large. Woo!
Living big. And
I got
they've told,
3 bean burritos. Well, that's a whole nother discussion. But we were
Oh,
living
my
large
goodness,
with Dad
yes.
and then of course at the house they would be gone. Mama was the cook, so we would then have to
Taco Bell and Pizza Hut.
Taco Bell, Pizza Hut.
And
But then
Pizza Hut was stepping out because Pizza Hut was not really cheap. So
yeah, so we were
Daddy,
stepping
you
out. But
guys
then a
were
lot of
living-
frozen food. We ate
Yeah,
a
that's
lot of
true.
frozen food.
Ramen noodles.
Oh yeah, I became the official cook of the ramen
Dallas
noodles.
was the ramen noodle chef. The boys would pay him 50 cents to make theirs because he could spice them up so good.
Yeah, I became infamously known as Chef Boyardee. But yeah, I was basically, because I was the youngest, they could get me to do what they needed me to do.
Yeah.
So, but good memories, and all that was happening while you were out,
Yeah.
making sure that we were able to pay the bills and selling dresses,
Well,
and this
when-
journey that was happening. Dad, we were back home with Dad. Dad was pastoring and doing all that. So, needless
you guys
to
were
say,
homeschooling, and by this time, though, by 2007, Gregory got married. Joshua was in college, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and you were probably finishing high school, I think.
I was in the latter years of that,
Yeah.
and working at the store. I'd had
Yeah.
a job since I was 13. So
yeah,
definitely
these boys
working.
learn to work young, and pretty proud of them. They're all pretty successful, so I'm pretty happy. They learned to work at
We're
a
not
young
bums.
age. That's good.
Yeah,
That's very
we
good.
learned that from my mom, not to be bums. Don't look don't look your worst when you're coming out of the house.
Oh,
so.
brother.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Now she did have to dress us, and of course I got a lot of hand me downs, and because
Yeah.
in those lean years,
Yeah.
we were kind of like Pharaoh's dream. There were 7 lean years, and
There was
then
more than 7, I can promise.
we had
I
those
can
moments,
promise,
and so
yeah.
that's I think some of that kind of lent itself to you being kind of scrappy in this term nowadays is startups, and
Yeah,
as you
I
kind of were
just-
starting up, you learned how to bend a penny and smooth
Yeah.
out a nickel here
Well,
and there.
my dad, and I talked about this earlier. My dad gave me a lot of rules, and I followed them. He's like, don't start making money and start seeing dollar signs and then start spending. So I did learn the frugal side from Mom, and Dad gave me the business side. So, and the other thing is, if you're a business owner, you got to be willing to work as hard or harder than any one of your employees. And so, I mean, my dad said, no one is going to love your business as much as you. And, I've worked really, really hard to get where I'm at. And it's been, there for years, just till even this is 2024, just until just a couple of months, I did, I would come home from work and church and sit at the dining room table for hours, handling business. And I've continued to do that all these years. I did that when we was in mill store. Would work all day and come home and sit at the table for hours, ordering things, ordering supplies, doing all that. So it's not for the faint at heart, owning a business and running your own business. You got to be willing to work really, really hard. And I've continued to do that all these years, and 6 days a week pretty much. Of course,
yeah, we're trying to
church.
get you to calm down a little bit. You know,
I
we're not
know.
saying you're old, but you're close to
No,
retirement
I
age,
am.
and you're not slowing down. You're actually hitting the gas.
You know what? I'm trying to figure that one out. I really would like to take a little time off and do some fun things. Dad and I've done a little bit here and there. We've usually get at least one trip in a year to go somewhere fun, but I really would like to like semi-retire. But is that even possible, Dallas? Can I even do that?
Yes. Well, do what you've done before. Ask God.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
He'll make a way for sure.
Bring him into it. He'll help me out.
So we'll kind of dip back in. So 2008, kind of walk us through, because we're not yet to Zadie B's.
Ooh, you're right. Wow. Okay, let's get on this. We took a long time to get here, but there's a lot to tell, and that was just a tip of the iceberg. But in 2008, we did so well in North Park Mall that they approached me, or I might have approached them. I think I did. There was a store down the way. It was an old Eddie Bauer location, beautiful location in the mall.
I still remember all those cedar beams
It was
in there.
beautiful. It was a gorgeous place. And the floor was all wood floors, real wood, all the huge cedar beams. It was a beautiful location. So there had been a Christmas store in there. So in about February, they closed down. And so I approached them all and said, look, we've done so good. And they were just astounded at how well we had done. We just did phenomenal. And about wore me slap out. But we did incredible. So at this point, I knew I was able to kick the rent and do it, you know. So I approached them and they said, "Yeah, we've got this location coming open. We can lease it to you." And they actually gave me that, or they didn't give it to me, but leased me that location for less than I was paying for that little 600 square foot spot. Of course, it was holiday time when I went in there. But so we got into the old Eddie Bauer location. That was in 2008. And so at this time, I'm buying a lot of vendor items, buying clothes, but I was buying, lots of home decor. So primarily that home decor, it was a home decor store. And I was still doing lots of shows, and of course continued to for years. But we had an upside, if you can imagine, upside down, backwards L. So you walk in the store, and it's straight up and down, and then you go to your right, and there's it's, I don't know, does that make sense? A backwards upside down L?
Yeah, so
Can
you would
you
walk in at
imagine?
the top of the L, but then you would go right instead of left. So you have to kind of picture that.
Yeah, I know that's a little weird description, but I don't know exactly
You
how
would
to
go
explain it.
straight and then turn right. That
Yeah.
was the L.
So what happened was we put all that home decor in there. We moved completely out of Mississippi Mill Store into the mall. We shut that store down again. Went in there, and I got to thinking about it. And this is really funny, but a lot of the vendors are foreigners, and they couldn't pronounce classy collections. They would say, "Is this trashy collections?" And I'm like,
No, it's not trashy collections.
I didn't want to be trashy
This is
collections.
modest clothing.
So I didn't want to be trashy collections. So, and then we were Mississippi Mill Store. So we decided, I got to thinking about it, and I thought, I need a new name. I need to change the name and be a little more, I don't know. I was trying to figure out a different name. Well, I got to thinking about it. My grandma, my dad's name, who my dad loaned me the money to do all these business adventures, and I decided to take my grandma's name. She was Zadie Mae Poole. And she was Hodges, of course. But her maiden name was Poole. She was from Louisiana. And so Zadie became Zadie for my grandma and B for Bryant. And so Zadie B's Fashion and Accessories. Well, we soon after that dropped the accessories. It was just Zadie B's and Zadie B's Fashions. But anyway, so that became Zadie B's, and our sign went up, I think, was it 2008? Did we put the new sign up with Zadie
I believe
B's?
so, yeah, because I remember that
in the mall?
was a big production trying to figure all that
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
And that was Mississippi Mill Store and Zadie B's.
It was, that's right. Our sign originally said Mississippi Mill and Zadie B's, but that store was fairly large. It was over 6,000 square feet. So
Remind me if I'm wrong, but I want to say that you had it. The reason why you kind of ended up doing the joint venture was because we had so much extra space in that back section.
Yes.
And we had filled up the front with all the home decor, but we
Correct.
still had space in the back.
That's
and it
right.
looked kind of empty.
Yeah. So here I had clothes in my trailer for shows, and I just decided, well, you know what? We'll just put the clothes in the back of that store. So for years, I guess 2 or 3 years, a lot of times people would come in and they were so excited about the home decor, they wouldn't even venture all the way to the back. Didn't even realize we had clothes. So over the years, we went to the mall in 2007. Over the years, the home decor got smaller and smaller and smaller, and the clothes became bigger and bigger and bigger. Not the actual clothes, but the the business, the ADBs began to take over Mississippi Mill. So we actually dissolved Mississippi Mill several years ago because it just became ADBs. And so we were in that location for 5 years, and then we moved to another spot in the mall for, I guess, Dallas, 3 years?
Yeah, we went from upstairs to downstairs.
For a several years downstairs, and then we moved into an old Limited, if you remember those, and it was over 7,000 square feet. And so we did phenomenal. We did excellent. And so it's been a huge journey, but I'm telling you, there's been so many cool things along the way. And
so that was their, what, 10 years? So say 08.
We left the mall 3 years ago in June, which is July. 3 years ago, we bought our own location
So that's
outside
been
of the mall.
13 years you were at North Park.
We were actually, I remember it was 14 years.
14, yeah.
But
That's the homeschool coming out with the bad math.
No, actually, you're smart. What can you say? But yeah, we were in the mall for 13, 14 years. We'll just give you a little slack there, Dallas. We were in there and you know what? We were very successful there. The mall was very good to us. They were very, very proud that we were there, even though we're locally owned and we weren't a corporate store. But when the big wigs would come to the mall, they wanted to bring them to our store because they were just really proud of our store and how it presented. So that was a huge blessing.
Well, that was part of your aesthetic. You would always decorate the store. You were kind of the primary decorator.
Yeah.
And I remember working there and putting stuff out, and you'd be like, no. This looks like this was put in by a male
boy
and a high schooler at that. So
Yeah.
we're gonna shift this around. So I never got to decorate. A little bit better about that. Never got to
We'll leave the
express my.
decorating to the mom and the daughter-in-law.
Yeah, I was never
Stacy's
good
a
at it. Okay,
decorator.
I'll go ahead and admit that fully.
Yeah.
But I was an okay salesman. I'll take that.
Yeah, he did. The women came looking for Dallas. He was in college, and all these older women loved Dallas. They're like,
I know.
"Where's Dallas?"
I think it was because it was like all of the sweet little old ladies would. I don't know if I had pinchable, I would smile and cherub cheeks, and they could be
that
like,
was
hey,
it,
that looks
that
like my
baby face.
grandson. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was always fun. And so I worked there through college, and was able to. We did a lot of projects in college utilizing ZDBs, and at the public relations class that I got the teacher to use, that
and
was
your
fun.
professor invited me to come and talk about entrepreneurship, and that was fun. That was really
Yeah, we had a
neat.
good time with that. So that now ZDBs is in the picture. We
Yeah.
get to that point, and then what year did you start designing? So there's
2013. There was a big
big
jump.
leap in evolution in ZDB's history.
A big jump. And the thing is we in 2013, I don't even remember. I met a man. I don't even remember how we actually got acquainted. He was in New York, and I designed my first line, and he produced it in a factory there in New York. In the midst of all this, one of his factories caught on fire. So it was a lot of work. And so then a few years later, we changed manufacturers. He was a great guy. He worked with me and taught me a lot about the business. Then I switched to California and did a lot of stuff out there, and even thought about doing China stuff. Actually did one item in China. Didn't really pan out too good, so I didn't go forward with any of that. But, so there's been a lot of work involved in where we've come. But 2013, we did our first line, and it hit the store, and it just took off from there. So really exciting, and we've tried to focus on things that ladies love, fabrics they love, textures they love, and we ventured out. We've done the the knit for years, and we've done multiple different fabrics over the years, and they always beg for the knit back because it's kind of a throwback, not really to micropleat, but the comfort level is like the micropleat. You get used to that stretch, and then you buy something that doesn't have stretch, and you're like, ooh, give me the stretch. I like it.
So I'm curious. So how happy is that little girl all the way back in many, many years ago? How happy is that little girl that she's now getting to design
It's
all
pretty
these clothing
incredible. It's full circle
on a weekly basis?
It's
Yeah.
pretty full circle. Yeah, pretty amazing. But I cannot stop. I can't not give the Lord the glory because He has carried me through so many moments. And several years ago, the Lord spoke to me and told me I needed to write a book. I haven't gone off into that venture just yet, but one day I might just get there. But I tell you what, if you are an entrepreneur or desire to be an entrepreneur, let me just warn you, it takes perseverance and hard work, and just keep going even when things get rough. We 5 years there with the store in Canton.
Were there times you really wanted to quit?
I did, but I guess I'm just too dumb to give up.
Or stubborn? I think I get a little bit of that.
I don't know if it is even stubborn. It's just, I would call it perseverance. That's the better word for me. But I think it's just really, I guess I got that from my mom. I really believe that, she worked really hard to raise us girls, and that was the one, stickability and perseverance. I guess they kind of intertwine, But yeah, so God's been incredible. I look back and think of all the stuff we went through, Dallas. It's just, I'm astounded.
Well, and I remember distinctly there would be moments where, because obviously working in the business with you, I want to say I started somewhere in the early 2000s when I was still in homeschooling, and I would then come up and work in the afternoons after doing school, and then I would then continue working with you through college. But there would be moments where it would be almost crises, where you would encounter a situation and you would look at it and you would say, well, this is going to end us. And then on the back end of that, it ended up being usually a launching pad into the next venture.
You know what? You're really right. And I feel like this is how I've kind of walked through my life, and especially after being a business owner, is I approach a door, and if I get to the door and the door just kind of swings open, I know that that's the direction to go. If I have to push or tug or pull or any of the sort to that door, it's not the right thing. And you have to learn to walk by faith, and that's a big word. Walk by faith. Do you take leaps of faith? Oh yeah, I've taken many of those, and sometimes, they might have led me in the right direction, but maybe sometimes not always. But sometimes you have to take risk as well. Walking. I try to pray about everything, every step that I make. And sometimes you feel like you're following the right direction, and you still make missteps. But that's humanity. That's us walking in our flesh, But I endeavor to let the Lord lead me wherever I go.
And it's been so interesting that us talking about those launching pads, of how many times that's happened from that moment in Canton where you were up against a wall of like banging your head against the wall. God, what am I supposed to do with that? And then God opens up a door, and there's a launching pad into the next phase.
And that's one of the key times I can tell you that is one of the key moments. I can go back to almost the day, obviously not exact day, but that day knowing, here I was praying and asking the Lord for direction, and the door opened. That lady walked into my store. I didn't even pursue her. I didn't even know where to go. I didn't even know who to reach out to, and the Lord brought her to my store. So, and I can't tell you over and over